With
Okay.
Good morning. I'm here with one of my really good friends and mentors, Tom House. Good morning,
I'm really glad you're my friend. At least I've got one, right? It's good to be here. So what are we going to do today?
I think it's really important to talk to people about ground force and how baseball and golf and all rotational sports use ground force.
Well, all rotational sports eventually look for exit velocity. How hard does a pitcher throw a ball? How far can a quarterback throw a football? How far can someone hit a golf ball? How far can someone hit a baseball? And it all starts with ground force. And what ground force basically is, you're taking the weight of your body and you're moving it forward in a time frame. And when it stops going forward, the energy that was going forward now translates up, and it's a kinetic chain from feet to the implement. And the more efficient you are with ground force production, the easier it is to throw and hit far.
So I remember, I love stories. I remember you saying to me a long time ago that Nolan used to say, "I want to throw hard easy," and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. And I didn't know what it was when he was saying it. You've got a good memory about stories. He would literally say, "I want to throw hard easy. I want to grunt in front." And I wrote it down, but I wasn't really aware of what it actually meant when it came to application. And the bottom line is, in a time frame, the faster you can move 200 pounds, the more ground force you're going to create, and the more ground force you create, the less strength it takes to throw hard. So there was the magic of Nolan Ryan.
Got it. So for the people that are listening and watching this, so just so I understand, so there's a way to do it efficiently,
right,
and then there's inefficient ways. And when people get injured, what they're doing is they're recruiting strength out of sequence.
Dead on. What happens, movement out of sequence and strength recruited out of sequence, is inappropriate performance and or injury. So someone that wants to throw 90 miles an hour, if they're not getting it from ground force production, then they have to do it with torque in their torso and muscle strength in their accelerators and decelerators. You can do it, but you can't do it long term, and you can't do it consistently, and that combination usually ends up with performance and injury problems.
So I remember we talked about this a few weeks ago, and you said that there's this cascading effect.
Yes.
So the muscles or joints below or above where the leakage is, I'm going to call it.
Yep.
That's where we have injuries. But sometimes the problem could be the shoulder strength.
Yes.
And we have a rib issue or we have a wrist issue.
Perfect. Now, you're setting this up for me perfectly. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and you're only as efficient as your worst movement. And the movement and the strength are kind of like married together. And you can recruit strength or movement out of sequence, but you're going to pay a price. So the ultimate efficiency and the ultimate strength recruitment is when ground force production, timing, torque, and basically hip and shoulder separation, and then the accelerator, decelerator efficiency in the body's muscles to get the energy into the implement. When all those things are efficient, you throw hard and hit far easy.
That's fantastic. Now, I also know that you've worked on a new way of being able to use an iPhone so that you can show people where their inefficiencies are, and you're calling that vector management. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Jason, it's brand new. In fact, we've applied for a patent on it, and it's possible because of the technology that's out there right now. With a cell phone capturing a delivery from the front and from the side, you can look at the body's various vectors, head, arms, legs, torso, and based on the quantifications and the measurables, you can tell a Little League mother how efficient her son is when he throws a baseball or swings a bat. It's pretty exciting stuff. It's just in its infancy, but I think it's going to scale and give mom and dad at home ownership of what is actually being taught to their young athletes.
That's a great segue into this group that we've kind of formed, which is Qualius OS. Right. And so can we talk a little bit about what the goal of this is for the families at home and the young athletes?
Exactly. And for the people that are watching this little interaction between you and me today, what we're trying to do is put objectively researched data, science-based, basically it's measured, quantified, and deliverables that a family can actually use at home, just like we do with our elite athletes when they come to us for 10 grand a day. It gives them emotion analysis, it gives them a functional strength screen, it helps them with their sleep and recovery, and it helps their mental emotional learning capacities to handle stress and competition. All those things together is our Qualia OS. And if I remember correctly, what we set that up with, OS stands for Operating System.
Correct.
So we have a deliverable operating system that scales from youth to elite. It's pretty exciting stuff.
That is fantastic. Now, we also have another project that we started, and the emphasis is on golf, and that's a project with Deepak Chopra, and we're calling that Beyond Performance.
Well, for those of you that know Deepak, there's no need to talk much about the fact that he touches a billion people with mindfulness, the mind-body connection, joy, belief, all the really good things. Well, what Beyond Performance is doing, it's taking all the wonderful stuff that Deepak is doing and translating into a sport called golf. And golf is our first, and we'll follow with other sports, to where Beyond Performance is literally beyond performance. It's about you. It's about individualizing what you as an individual need to get better with your mechanics, your functional strength, your mental emotional, and your nutrition and your sleep. It's a combination of really good stuff in tandem with what has already been proven by Deepak, and golf is our first entree into it, and it looks like it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. So the one last thing I want to touch on is the neurophysiological training and how we're taking the 40 plus years of experience in training the body and patterning and connecting that with this technology called FocusBand. And what have you seen so far with athletes we've combined these two?
That's a great setup for what I think the most exciting thing that I've seen in 50 years of professional sports is we can actually, through FocusBand, we have the technology to actually look at and measure. It's kind of an MRI for the brain, what goes on in not only just preparation, but competition. The thinking, the feeling, the nervous system, and the 90 trillion cells to get the action done. So FocusBand is literally enabling us to not only identify, but to come up with the fixes for the various things that most athletes go home with. A lot of I think Yogi Berra said it best. 90% of sports are 50% mental. We laugh at that, but it's the truth. And now for the first time in my life, I'm 70 plus years old, we can actually watch a 12-year-old or a 30-year-old superstar and see what goes on in their brain and match it up accordingly.
While they're performing in real time.
While they're performing in real time. You could actually have it on in a football game, a baseball game, a round of golf, and you can actually see attention and the focus on when thinking gives into feeling and when the combination gets out into the nervous system and ultimately the body's, all the cells in the body. It's pretty special when you match it up with what we know about mechanics and strength. It's a home run.
So it's really truly talking about homeostasis. Like we're educating people how they themselves can get into the flow state, and it's not this elusive, ethereal thing that floats around, but it's really the mind-body connection.
Dead on. And the big word homeostasis is your body in balance for what you're trying to do with your daily activity. And the sad thing is most of the people on this good earth are running around in negative homeostasis. They're just trying to feel or do less bad than they did yesterday. It's now possible to measure and quantify all the things that are necessary for not just you and me, but for anybody out there that accesses this technology to get your body into at least a break-even state and hopefully in a positive homeostasis, where you can hardly wait to get to the ballpark or get up to go, do whatever you're doing in your daily existence.
So, that brings me to another idea, and we've worked with a couple of people that used to be athletes and now they got into the business world and no longer, playing a sport necessarily. But there's no reason why those people can't go through the exact same protocols that you run the superstars through and use the FocusBand technology just to improve their daily life.
What we're finding out is the elite athlete and the everyday individual are the same exact quantification. The only difference between a CEO making $100 million and an elite pitcher making $100 million are the lights and the people booing them. The bottom line, human beings are human beings, and no matter what your occupation is, we can find a way to help you enhance, quote, quote, your homeostasis for a better day.
So when you said booing them, it reminds me of the story of somebody I know in Boston. We tell that quick story and then we'll wrap it up. And
okay. You always remember the stories. Well, okay, it's not going to hurt my feelings, but it boils down to this. Fans go to the ballpark to either cheer or boo. And whether you're at home or on the road, if you perform, you're usually cheered. If you don't perform, which I was really good at, what Jason is talking about is that I came in a playoff game against the Yankees when I was with the Red Sox and was specifically brought in to throw a curveball to get, I'll mention his name, Chris Chambliss out. And obviously I didn't get him out. He hit a home run the first curveball I threw. And it was, once we got through the stuff with the team and me and the manager and whatever, it was okay. Athletes, they know how to turn the page. But the fans of Boston, for the next 2.5 years, it boiled down to now pitching for the Sox. Don't you laugh. Now pitching for the Sox, number 29, Tom. Boo! So when you don't hear your last name for like 2.5 years, you get over your ego really quick. But true story.
I love that story for another reason. And the reason why I love that story for another reason is it was really the first time that we started to understand reframing.
Right.
So maybe rewind a little bit and say what happened on the mound, and then what happened in the game.
Okay.
And then how you learned a very valuable lesson about.
Awesome. This really ties it up. When a coach's way of teaching and an athlete or an individual's way of learning don't match up, one of them are going to have to reframe to get the job done. And what I messed up with was I was told by my manager, Don Zimmer, who was a great baseball mind for a long time, said, I don't care what you do, don't give a home run up to Chris Chambliss. Well, he was trying to tell me in his way to make a good pitch. Well, what I didn't do was reframe, and all that stuck with me was hang a curveball. And when your 90 trillion cells can't edit good or bad, if it says don't hang a curveball, it's going to hear hang a curveball, and I did exactly what I told my cells to do. So the reframing that you're talking about is something that FocusBand allows us to see a learning style. And when the learning style of the athlete doesn't match up with the teaching style of the coach or the mom or the dad or an instructor in a class, then somebody has to reframe. And we can actually help the reframe process.
That's fantastic. Well, I really enjoyed this, and my hope is that we do this on a pretty regular basis. I hope the people that are watching enjoyed it. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah, don't be afraid to log in and ask questions. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So if you send your question in, maybe we can answer them the next time
Sure,
we get together.
Without a doubt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Great job today.
Thanks.